Hello and welcome. Many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy News and here are the stories making headlines. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu calls on election managers in West Africa to initiate policies that will reduce costs of conducting elections. Not Too Young to Run movement says many young aspirants were knocked off the political primaries due to high cost of nomination and undemocratic primaries. Outside Nigeria, at least 13 people killed by flash floods in the Order region of southwestern France. And on sports news, Amaju Pinnick dedicates Eagles win. Details shortly. Well, many thanks for staying with us. I am Justin Akadonye. We begin from Abuja in this bulletin. Now, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has called on election managers in the West African sub-region to initiate policies that will reduce costs of conducting elections in diverse countries. Professor Yakubu made the call while declaring open a two-day validation workshop on the study of cost of election, organized by the ECOWAS Network of Electoral Commissions in Abuja Monday. He said the high cost of electoral processes do not only increasingly challenge the natural resources, but also poses threats to nations' growth and development. The INEC chairman also noted that to promote democracy, nations must build on the threshold of ensuring citizenry confidence on electoral processes.
Also grateful to the Electoral Institute for Sustainable Development in Africa, EISA, which have been supporting ECONET activities, including the needs assessment, solidarity missions, as well as midterm review. I recall that when we visited the Republic of Sierra Leone in July last year, EISA was there to support us, and they also sent an expert to join us in Guinea-Conakry, and most recently in the Republic of Guinea-Bissau.
Professor Yakubu, however, assured of the Commission's commitment to conduct free, fair and credible elections under his watch. Representatives of the ECOWAS Commission, Aderemi Ajibewa, highlight major findings carried out on the rising cost of conducting elections in the region, hoping that the workshop would help work out ways to make it more affordable.
A similar exercise where the SADC as well as ECOWAS, they came together and discussed on some of these issues that affect the region. It must also be recalled that the huge cost of organizing election in member states and the task required for its success led to the need for a comprehensive study. So the study we are here to review and validate will expand the body of knowledge on the reasons for variations in the cost of elections across the ECOWAS region, elicit discussions amongst election stakeholders on financing election in ECOWAS member states, and equip ECONEC with empirical advocacy tool for the timely provision of adequate election funding for the benefit of member states.
The two-day validation workshop is expected to bring to bear the experience and expertise of stakeholders drawn from West African sub-region to bring out modalities on how to reduce costs of conducting elections. We're staying in Abuja. Now, following the conduct of various party primaries that have seen the emergence of candidates for elective positions, young aspiring politicians feel they were systematically cut off through a flawed process. Addressing journalists in Abuja Monday on the conduct of party primaries and youth candidacy, the Not Too Young to Run movement says many young aspirants were knocked off the political primaries due to factors like high cost of nomination and undemocratic primaries characterized by imposition and substitution of candidates, among others. And rising from this, the group says it is mobilizing 50 million young Nigerians to decide the next set of leaders.
Some young aspirants were told with no regard to democratic principles that they could not purchase a party ticket. We have more reports of these incidents from young aspirants who intended to run under the APC in Kano State, in Ogun State, and in Zamfara State.
Over 60% of eligible young registered voters with their permanent voters card are young people below 35 years. So it tells you that we decide who becomes the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who becomes our executive state governors, senators, and House of Representative members.
Against the backdrop of the popular practice of throwing money around, including paying foreign currencies at party primaries, the movement says the next phase of its advocacy will therefore be on seeking to put a limit on campaign funds.
INEC has a lot of mandates, and that becomes challenging because parties don't even document their expenses, and they even fail to make reports of finances or funds expended during the campaign period. And I think this is the time for us to start another advocacy for the reform of our electoral laws, for the creation of the Electoral Offences Commission, or an institute that will be responsible for the prosecution of electoral offenders, especially as it relates to campaign financing and those that would breach the laws.
This would inform probably our next demand after the next dispensation, because one thing we're now deliberating on is putting a peg to campaign finances. I know that if you look at the INEC guidelines and the amendment, political parties and aspirants are supposed to declare their source of funding and also submit a report of their financials.
Moving away from Abuja, in another development from Oyo State, the Nigerian Immigration Service has called for the support of all stakeholders in order to curtail the influx of criminal elements as Nigerians prepare for the 2019 general elections. The Controller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service, Mohammed Babandede, who made the appeal in Ibadan during a visit to Agodi Governor's office, assured that the service would continue to do everything possible to ensure adequate security of border and the country at large. On the new Nigerian passport with improved security feature and quality, the immigration boss disclosed that the issuance of the document would commence before the end of this year with 10 years validity, stressing that the new passport will have features that will stand the test of time and it will run concurrently with the old ones.
Immigration will continue to do its best in terms of national security. Foreigners in your territory, they should contribute to development, not exploit the territory. We are always welcoming people, but people who contribute to our security, not exploit our people. Anytime there's a problem like that, please call us, we'll be able to assist you. I don't want to take your time, but I'd like to assure you that the immigration service has been positioned better than we found it. You know very well that the service has improved the service delivery. In the last few years, we had problem of passport, even last year.
Responding on behalf of Governor Abiola Jimobi, the Deputy Governor Moses Adeyemo called on the Nigerian Immigration Service to ensure regular monitoring of Nigerian borders for the sustenance of peace in the country.
To say that your responsibility, apart from giving us passport and the rest of them, is to ensure that we have a very good policy. I think we have to look at it and see that criminals don't come to Nigeria anymore, or even it is reduced. It's not possible that we will not have, because even in developed countries like America, Britain, and the rest of them, criminals see with all their facilities and everything.
He also admonished the Controller General to initiate policy to check illegal immigrants and emigrants into the country. Moving on now to Benue State, where the state governor Samuel Otom has directed proper medical care be given to a victim of herdsmen attack whose arms were chopped off during pregnancy in Kiana local government area of Nasarawa State early this year. Joy Turner, the victim who ran to Benue IDP camp with her family and her newborn after a very traumatic condition, is now recovering following the injuries sustained in the wake of the attack. She met with the governor on Monday in Government House, Makodi, where he gave her the sum of 250,000 naira and directed his personal physician to take care of her. Governor Otom used the occasion to call on the federal government to find alternative shelter for many of the IDPs still in camp, as well as increase security presence in affected communities now that the rain is subsiding.
The medical attention were directed my personal physician to take care of her and ensure that she gets complete treatment on the effects of her body so that she can be relieved.
The governor, who appealed to relatives to continue to shelter them pending the federal government's responses, thanked officers and men of Operation World Stroke for their effort and also directed more food and relief materials to be released to the IDPs.
Operation White Stroke for the efforts they are doing, but I think more needs to be done. We're not going to rest until these people find them return to their homes now that the rainy season trying to subside. I think this is the right time for intervention of the federal government to provide alternative shelter and also support in terms of security to ensure that these people go back.
The victim of the herdsman attack, who narrated how she was attacked in her house, thanked the governor for the support to her and the baby.
How did it happen?
House, a truffle, then plan to come attack us. Then they call me, I get pregnant, no fever.
Meanwhile, the Executive Secretary of the State Emergency Management Agency, Emmanuel Shia, informed the governor that food and relief materials are already being distributed.
Distributed rice, beans, yam, yam, flour, condiments, including palm oil, vegetable oil, detergent, soaps. Just yesterday, why I also delayed coming here is that I have just.
You're watching the news coming to you from Galaxy Television. Still ahead, Cross River State Government appeals to the federal government to fast-track processes that will bring about the immediate commencement of construction work on its proposed Bakassi deep sea port. Details shortly. To join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Galaxy News. Now, for more updates and latest news, visit our website, galaxytvonline.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Galaxy TV Nigeria. You can follow or interact with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Galaxy TV, or tweet at us at Galaxy TV. Don't forget to follow and tag us on our Instagram page at Official Galaxy TV. Our social media platforms are user-friendly and can always accommodate your live updates and comments. And straight now to Cross River State, where the government has appealed to the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, fast-track processes that will bring about the immediate commencement of actual construction work on its proposed Bakassi Deep Sea Port and the 275-kilometer superhighway project. The state governor, Professor Ben Ayade, made the appeal in Calabar, the state capital, when he received the chairman and members of the Bakassi Deep Sea Port Inter-Ministerial Steering Committee in company of the project transaction financial advisor prior to their 3-day fact-finding mission to the state. Addressing the team, the governor maintained that the state has done its best to ensure the actualization of the project and tasked the federal government to also do its bid for the commencement of the DC Port project.
We're a state that earns less than 3 billion, minus deductions, and then to a neighboring state that in the same month that you're getting 800 million, a neighboring state is getting 1825 billion. That is the state that you're here to rescue. And you know the politics of a deep sea port approval goes beyond its valid credentials. The politics of other interest parties to ensure that this does not move, you know very well. And we know so much.
The governor also lamented the current financial status of the state following the loss of its oil wells, likening the state to a weeping child in the Committee of States.
Do not come from the limits of the pocket, but from the limit of the intellect. And we decided to put intellectual money. In order to whet the appetite of investors, we decided that let's do that which we can do. So when any time the investor comes, having gotten the OBC and FBC approved, the investors will come and be surprised that they're not coming to meet a green project, but the project has already taken off.
Well, moving back to Abuja, where members of staff of Investment Security Tribunal, IST, have called for the immediate sack of Idoko Ako, the chairman of the organization, alleging illegality in the running of its affairs. The staffers, under the auspices of Amalgamated Union of Public Corporations, Civil Servants, Technical and Recreational Services Employees, stormed the Federal Ministry of Finance to register their grievances on Monday in Abuja. The protesters said they have lost confidence in Idoko Ako, alleging high-handedness in managing the organization. The aggrieved protesters, speaking through the state chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Aliyu Maradun, accused Mr. Idoko Ako of illegality, high-handedness in the Investment Security Tribunal.
We are back here to report to you that Idoko Ako is doing the work. He has, against your approval, engaged in recruitment of staff. He has, against your approval, engaged in buying of 400 million naira cars. He is, against your approval, engaged in seconding staff from the head of service of the Federation, from the Auditor General and Accountant General of the Federation, because the professionals on ground are not willing to compromise.
According to the protesters, the industrial crisis in IST is worsening by the day, while violation of due process and extant laws and regulations by the chairman and his cabinet have become recurring decimals.
An agreement was reached. Everybody went back home. But on reaching, the DG went to Nigeria Industrial Court to recontest the agreement. Well, the staff are supposed to go on strike, but it's depriving them. We must obey the law. We are law-abiding, but there's no any law preventing us from picketing.
The protesters were later addressed by the representative of the minister, Zainab Ahmed Shiombola Olubomi, assuring them that steps would be taken to address their demands. You're watching the news coming to you from Galaxy Television. We'll take a quick break and return with more. Do join us again. Welcome back. As the second-term administration of Ayodele Fayose winds up, the outgoing Deputy Governor of the state, Olushola Kolakbo, has appealed to residents of the state to shun violence and allow peace to reign. Olushola said this on Monday in his hometown of Ikere-Ekiti during a solidarity rally organized for him by a resident of his town to welcome him home from his service to the state. He said his entry into politics about 4 years ago was unexpected and thanked the outgoing governor of the state for the opportunity given to him to serve. He said his experience during the last governorship election in the state has shown that trust is a rare privilege in politics. In his response, the Ogoga of Ikere-Ekiti, Adejimi Adu, appreciated the contribution of the outgoing deputy governor to the development of the state. He urged residents of the state to pursue peace at all times. He charged law enforcement agencies to maintain peace and order in the state.
You always support what is yours. Support your own son. Anytime they are out there to contest for any election, especially we are talking about governorship, I expected all the chiefs, all of them, irrespective of political affiliations, to rally around me, to support me. A good number of them, if I may, more than 88% of them actually supported except for some few ones. So I raised the issue for those few ones just to let them know that, well, that is not the right thing for them to do.
He has done his best. He went, he saw, and we believe he conquered. He went without any taint, without any criminal thing against him. He has done us proud.
Well, moving on, Chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Kaduna State Council, Adamu Yusuf, has stressed the need for journalists to improve their reportage of disaster risk management in order to contribute positively in reducing the phenomenon in the country. He made a call during training for journalists in Kaduna as part of activities to mark World Disaster Risk Management Day. The resource person at the training for journalists, Ahmed Meyaki, emphasized the need for journalists to always go beyond or to dig issues of disasters and to also change people's attitude of the environment.
The whole essence of this event is to, charge our colleagues, journalists, towards, going beyond what they do. Because what journalists do is they only tell stories, break stories when disasters strike, without necessarily following up with the afterwards.
We are invited to attend an interactive section, like to set an agenda of the media, by the media, to ensure that at least we have play our own role in ensuring that we mitigate disaster in our country.
We don't wait for disaster to happen before taking action. What we do is we try to sensitize the community. We try to inculcate the habit of disaster management in people. It is not when disaster strikes and then we react, bring relief materials. No, we try to enlighten the public.
Some of the participants expressed delight in the training, saying it would help deepen their reportage of disaster risk management.
It's not as if disaster will not happen, but we can actually do a lot of things to reduce the effects on the cause or possibly the people around and the country at large. So taking home now is to further do more on reporting how to reduce the risk associated with disaster in my community and, as a journalist, the country at large.
5,000 gallons of oil, if you go to any quarter, is there. This oil also pollutes the environment, pollutes the soil, pollutes the water. It damages the aquatic habitats, it damages the plants and others. So the government is only looking at other pollutants, but they are not looking at the slaughterhouses. The slaughterhouses produce more pollutants than even, I would say, it's only comparable to the petroleum industry.
In attendance were the representative of the National Emergency Management Agency Northwest Zone and journalists in Kaduna State. More reactions have continued to show the Executive Order 6 of the federal government banning 50 high-profile Nigerians from traveling out of the country. This is coming as the Delta State chapter of the Nigerian Bar Association promised to embark on a peaceful protest condemning the ban, which it described as unlawful. Speaking on the order, the National Publicity Secretary of the NBA, Kunle Edun, and the legal practitioner described it as unconstitutional.
Press release from the presidency came as a shock to many Nigerians. The views about it has been diverse, some in support, some in against. But my personal take is that that ban on 50 personalities, Nigeria, from traveling out of the country is not lawful.
The order is not justified because in the first place, he has missed the mark. And from what I said, to the best of my knowledge, I said it's on the restriction of the property of some persons alleged and or suspected to have dealings in suspicious asset.
Speaking further, the NBA National Publicity Secretary advised those affected by the ban to seek redress in the court of law.
I would not advise that any person that has been affected by this purported ban to challenge it in the courts and ensure that this purported ban is set aside. It does not portend anything good for this country because we have a constitution and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has sworn to uphold the provision of this constitution. We have the legislation, we have the judiciary, we have the executive. Each of them has its own distinct functions. None should be seen to be interfering with the function of the others.
Meanwhile, different names have emanated from the internet to be among those placed in travel ban. The presidency has denied any knowledge of the list. Meantime, a political scientist from the University of Ilorin, Dr. Badeojo, has described Executive Order 6 by President Muhammadu Buhari, which bans about 50 Nigerians from traveling abroad, as draconian and an abuse of human rights. Dr. Badeojo, who stated that there is no basis for such order, noted that the offenses leveled against most of the people listed are mere suspicion and does not warrant such restriction. The political scientist noted that only a court of competent jurisdiction has the right to give such order, stressing that none of those mentioned in the list constitute security risks to the country.
The executive order number 6 that restricted a number of Nigerians from traveling abroad, more so on suspicion that they are corrupt, is a bit draconian. Draconian in the sense that you don't restrict people from traveling outside the country if they are not a security risk. More so that the matter is in court. It is the responsibility of a competent law court to say, okay, you are released on bail, you must not travel out.
He charged the executive to empower the judiciary to conclude cases, especially those that involve corruption, on time, and allow the law court to do its work, rather than the president issuing such orders.
It is better we look at the judicial system and ensure that cases are concluded on time, and we allow the law court to do its own work by asking anybody that is on trial not to travel outside the country or not. It should not be the business of Mr. President. More so that election is coming and a number of them are likely to stand for election. The reason why corruption cases will be concluded on time is for purposes of election.
As preparations for the 2019 general elections gear up, Nigerians have continued to react on the viability of candidates of the two major political parties in the country. Now, some Southeast monarchs, Sylvester Nwabualo, of Agolo, London, and Dr. Ramas Asuzu Izoba Akajiof of Nri Kingdom, who spoke with Galaxy News in separate interviews, expressed disappointment with the state of the nation, arguing that the current administration under President Muhammadu Buhari has performed poorly in all sectors of the economy, despite the massive goodwill it enjoyed from Nigerians on assumption of office 3.5 years ago. They said the Buhari-led administration has dashed the hopes and the expectations of Nigerians with its lopsided appointment and her inability to secure the lives and properties of Nigerians. They, however, avert that the 2019 elections will provide Nigerians with an ample opportunity to decide the type of future they want for themselves and their generations unborn.
I want to swear that the current government of this country is not performing. They have not performed, that is definite. In all aspects of governance, in economy, zero. In infrastructure, zero.
I told you before that the change slogan we hear from APC is not what we are seeing. They try to fight corruption, but they are more corrupt than the corruption they fight. We are disappointed in the change, and we need a better change. Atiku is the answer.
Well, moving on, the Ondo State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, or SOPADEC, has commenced the disbursement of bursary to students from the mandate area of Ilaje and Esodo local governments. The commission is disbursing over 200 million naira to over 5,000 students in tertiary institutions across the country. Speaking with newsmen after the flag-off ceremony, the chairman of SOPADEC, Benga Edema, said the Commission is aware of the importance of bursary to students from the Niger Delta region of the state and promised that there will be innovations to remove the usual bottlenecks that cause delay in the scheme.
We also heard that we are digitalizing gradually, and one of the first effects of our digitalization is this bursary system. If you go to our website today now, you see that all the list of persons who benefited from this bursary are already on our website. Very soon our forms also will be out, and we'll place them on the website.
The representative of the governor of Ondo State at the ceremony, Wumi Ilawale, commended the conduct of students from Ilaje and Esodo local government areas and reiterated the commitment of the Akeredolu-led administration to the welfare of all citizens of the state.
2 years of this administration, 2 bursaries and scholarships have been paid. And I'm sure with enough funds available, the backlogs will be cleared as well.
As part of celebration of Global Hand Washing Day, our group's Center for Water and Environment Development, CWED, has taken the sensitization to public primary schools. The organizers say it has become imperative to show the benefits of hand washing to pupils of primary school with a view to inculcating the habit in them at an early age. Coordinator CWED, Doris Zakama, said hand washing is essential as it can help reduce diseases.
They don't have access to water, and we decided to show them the tippy tap with little water they can wash their hands. And we found out because of the so many diseases that are coming around in Kaduna, like outbreak of cholera and all those things, we decided to bring it down for them to become part of their behavior, to be washing hands all the time. That's why we choose this school.
In the same vein, the head teacher and pupils of the school showed their appreciation to the organizers for enlightening them on how to prevent the spread of germs through hand washing.
With this very program, we are trying to inculcate into our children how to improve their hygiene, even in the school and outside the school. And this also will help them to maintain their good health. It will increase their quality of health.
That before and after eating, we should always wash our hands. Before and after using the bathroom or toilet, we should always wash our hands. Have good health, and we may die in the sickness that will go on us.
I learned that we should wash our hands always. I learned that we should wash our hands. We should wash our hands before eating. I learned that we should wash our hands before before eating and after using the toilet.
You're watching the news coming to you from Galaxy Television. Our Business Reports is up next.
On the business scene tonight, the Standards Organization of Nigeria has not slacked in their efforts to rid the Nigerian market of substandard product, as they have embarked on a nationwide awareness program to sensitize the teeming public on the dangers of substandard product in circulation. The workshop, which was held in Lagos, gathered various traders and stakeholders in Balogun Business Association Trade Fair Complex and SON staff. Director General SON Osita Aboloma, while sharing the essence of the program, sourced for a mutual relationship between the association and SON to promote the life of the economy and protect the lives of Nigerians. He added that within the last 3 years, the agency has been able to automate their processes, making it easier to access information.
Some of the things that we've been able to do is to automate our processes. By automation, that's making the clearance of your goods or inquiries about our services easier. It is now easier for you to reach us. The result of the automation is that after automation, we've been able to block human interference, where people used to tell you, come and see us. You can access most of our services from the comfort of your office or your bedroom. You no longer need to use towels to help you know what we are doing or to help you access some of our services.
Also speaking during the workshop, Chinyere Egwonwu, Director Standards Development SON, explained the importance of standards in every society and the need for these standards to be strictly adhered to.
So this standard, once they are approved, it's expected that everybody must apply it and implement it. And that is why we have come here today to tell you. Standards exist. If you want to import, please find out the standards that are available for you depending on what you want to import. And we'll advise that you please take that standard and tell your people that your importers or your manufacturers abroad that they should please make your product to this specification, to this thing, where the standard, where they right for here, make they make them according to it. So that when you come in, you will not have problems.
In a separate remark, President International Center for Commerce Anthony Obi reiterated the commitment of his association to do all they can to checkmate the influx of substandard product. He also says a standard club will be launched within the Balogun Business Association, which is to reduce the number of fake goods importation.
Now we are going to flag off standard club in BBA, and the purpose is for them to begin to checkmate the activities of these importers, what they import, what they bring in most of the time. So, and by so doing, they will be reporting back directly to the Standard Organization of Nigeria. So it will help us to checkmate or to reduce the importation of fake or substandard products in our complex.
In this bid to rid market of substandard product, efforts have intensified as the agency will launch more workshops in different states. In the meantime, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has announced the partial lifting of the suspension placed on the International Aviation College Ilorin's approved training organization certificate. The regulatory agency stated that the development had been conveyed to the college in a letter dated October 8, 2018 and signed by the Acting Director of Licensing, Cletus Ume, on behalf of the Director General, Captain Mokhtar Usman. In a statement signed by its General Manager, Public Relations, Sam Adurugboye, the NCAA said the partial lifting of the suspension was as a result of the closure of a good number of findings and the remarkable commitments demonstrated in closing the remaining findings as verified during the recent recertification audit of the college. According to the NCAA, it had earlier suspended the ATO of the IOC Ilorin due to the deficiencies found during an audit of the institution. Finally, the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, had said that maintaining stable exchange rate to avoid depreciation of the naira is better than building foreign reserve buffers. Emefiele told journalists that this was part of the outcome of the Nigerian delegation's meeting with investors and institutions at the International Monetary Fund and World Bank Group annual meetings in Bali, Indonesia. He said that all frontiers and developing markets had suffered not just depreciation, but had also lost reserves. According to him, like other emerging markets, Nigeria has also lost reserves, but only marginally, because it has managed to sustain stability in its foreign exchange market. The CBN governor said the IMF and the World Bank advised the nations should build country-specific policies and fiscal and structural reforms that will boost economic growth. The Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, said the World Bank's Human Capital Development Index ranking, which rated Nigeria low at 44% on stunting, was disheartening and depressing. She, however, said that the federal government saw the ratings as a wake-up call.
And away from business reports, up next is sports news.
In the world of sport, the president of the Nigeria Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick, has dedicated the Super Eagles 4-0 defeat of Libya in a 2019 African Cup of Nations African qualifiers in New York on Saturday to President Muhammadu Buhari. Saturday's match was the first in the fresh tenure of the Pinnick-led NFF following the elections in Katsina on September 20 that handed the board another 4-year term. A statement by Ademola Olajire, NFF's Director of Communications and made available, quoted Pinnick and saying that the Eagles' victory was dedicated to President Buhari for his continued support to the NFF. Nigeria shot to second place in Group E over the 2019 African Cup of Nations qualifying series after Odion Igalo extars his ghost with a spectacular hat-trick and impressive Samuel Kalu added one to condemn the Mediterranean Knights to a 4-0 defeat in New York. Pinnick, who is also the first vice president of CAF, commended NFF partners and sponsors, especially praising official Optimum partners, ATO Group, for their huge contributions to all facets of the Nigerian game. The interim coach of Libya, Omar Al-Mayami, is confident that the Mediterranean Knights will avenge the 4-0 loss to Nigeria in Saturday's 2019 African Cup of Nations qualifier when they host the Super Eagles in the reverse fixture tomorrow, Tuesday, in Sfax, Tunisia. Al-Mayami replaced Adel Amrouche, who resigned 5 days before the match in New York. Al-Mayami says the Knights must attack the Super Eagles to stand a chance of winning. Libya are third in the Group E of 2019 AFCON qualifiers with 4 points from their 3 games, while Nigeria second with 6 points from 3 points. South Africa led the group on 7 points. Seychelles at the bottom of the group. Ahead of the 11th edition of the African Women's Cup of Nations Tag Ghana 2018, coach of the Super Falcons of Nigeria, Thomas Dinabai, has submitted a list of players for the campaigning exercise, revealing the team will be camped in phases before the final team list. The Swedish tactician will be aiming to clinch his first trophy with the team and reveal that the first phase of campaign, which is scheduled to end on October 28, will be solely for home-based players. Successful players from the first phase will join overseas-based professional for the second stage of campaign, which is built to begin on October 29 in Abuja. Danabai is expected to announce his final 21 players scored for the tournament before November 4th, with the tournament kicking off on the 17th of November till the 1st of December. With the tournament also serving as qualifiers for the Women's World Cup in France next year, the Falcons will be aiming to defend the crown they won in Cameroon 2 years ago. And finally, in the world of sport, Usain Bolt needed twice for Central and Coastal Mariners in a friendly last week. The former sprinter has now reported being offered a deal by a European club. Bolt agents said the club new owner are targeting Champions League football. Usain Bolt has reportedly been offered a 2-year contract by a club in Europe. The former Olympic champion sprinter hit the headlines last week when he scored twice for Australian side Central Coast Mariners in their friendly against Macarthur Southwest United. It remains unclear exactly who's trying to sign both, but ESPN reports that Central Coast Mariners boast connections with the sides around the world, such as Sheffield United and Ferencváros in Hungary. They also claim Everton and Malta's Premier League Salbazan are players' development partners. Both retired from athletics in 2017, has trained with Borussia Dortmund and made clear his desires to end a professional deal. But Macarthur centre-back Josh Simmons, who was tasked with stopping both in the pre-season friendly, believes he's still a way off the quote. Reluctant to be drawn on whether both deserves a contract, he added, there are players that have worked a lot harder and longer, and they are probably more deserving player at NPL level, but that where the Mariners managers come in, and they feel is going to get more fans to the ground.
And away from sports news, it's now time to track stories making headlines from the international scene.
Welcome to the international scene. At least 13 people have been killed by flash floods in the Aude region of southwestern France. Local authorities say several months' worth of rain fell in just a few hours overnight, leaving roads blocked in some areas. A nun was swept away by the river Aude. Separately, a policeman attending to a weather-related traffic accident in the town of Albi was hit and killed by a motorist. Alain Therion, the prefect of Aude, said people were stranded on rooftops and will have to be evacuated by air because it was too dangerous by boat. One person was injured, he added, when a house collapsed in the locality of Coussac. According to the Weather Monitoring Service, the floods are the worst the Aude River has seen in more than 100 years. 7 helicopters and 700 emergency service workers have been deployed, according to France's Prime Minister Edouard Philippe, who says he will visit the area if conditions allow. Residents of the worst-hit areas have been urged to stay inside their homes by emergency services and local authorities, who have issued a red alert. Authorities say all roads are inaccessible to the north of Carcassonne municipality and schools are shut. In the meantime, German police said Cologne's main railway station is being evacuated because of a hostage-taking emergency. A police spokesman says an armed man has taken a woman hostage at a chemist there. The area in and around the station, a major transport hub, has been cordoned off. There are unconfirmed reports that some shots were fired, and extra police have been deployed to the scene. Deutsche Bahn is cancelling or delaying train services in Cologne. Police say officers have contact with the man and trained hostage negotiators are working on the case. It is not clear whether there is any terror link. No details have emerged yet about the hostage taker or any potential motive. Also on the international scene, Syria's main crossing points with Jordan and the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights have both been reopened for the first time in several years. A Syrian businessman living in Jordan was the first person to pass through the Nasib border post between Jordan and Syria when traffic resumed. Syrian government forces recaptured the crossing from rebel fighters in July. UN vehicles were also seen crossing into the Israel-occupied Golan near the Syrian town of Quneitra. The news came as Syrian Foreign Minister Walid Mualem discussed speeding up the reopening of the country's border crossings with Iraq at a meeting with his Iraqi counterpart Ibrahim al-Jafari in Damascus. Jordanian taxi driver Imad Sarihin expressed hope that a resumption of cross-border trade would help ease the economic hardships he had suffered. The closure of Nasib in 2015, when it was overrun by Syrian rebel factions, cut a crucial transit route for billions of dollars of goods and had serious economic repercussions. Jordan supported the rebellion against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, but he now appears close to victory months after the Syrian army defeated opposition fighters in the southern provinces of Dera and Quneitra with the help of Russian airstrikes and Iranian-backed militias. In another story, officials say thousands of people remain missing in coastal areas of northwest Florida devastated by Hurricane Michael last week. Recovery teams with dogs and heavy equipment are due to scour destroyed buildings in Mexico Beach and Panama City in the search for more victims. At least 18 deaths are confirmed so far across 4 states, and the death toll is expected to rise. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will visit the storm-hit region. Many places are still without power, and rescue efforts have been hampered by fallen trees and other debris blocking roads. There are also shortages of food and water. So far, at least 9 people are confirmed dead in Florida, 5 in Virginia, 3 in North Carolina, and 1 in Georgia. City Mayor Al Kafi says that 46 people remain missing or unaccounted for. Mexico Beach had been under a mandatory evacuation order, but it is believed that at least 285 people among a population of 1,000 had stayed behind to ride out the storm. Florida Governor Rick Scott described Mexico Beach as looking like a war zone. He said more than 1,700 rescue workers had been deployed. Many people who fled to the shelters further inland when the hurricane hit have been heading home. However, Governor Scott has warned local authorities that they may find their homes have been destroyed and so will need emergency accommodation locally. And finally, on the international scene, human rights groups are calling for the release of dozens of people arrested during an anti-government protest in Nicaragua on Sunday. Police said that 38 people were detained in the capital Managua, of which 8 have so far been released. The arrest came a day after the police warned that it would not allow any unauthorized protests to go ahead. The Central American nation has been rocked by a wave of anti-government demonstrations since April. Hundreds of people have been killed since the protests demanding President Daniel Ortega's resignation. The protesters were gathering for a march under the motto United for Liberty when riot police moved in to disperse the demonstrators. Anti-government demonstrations were declared illegal by President Ortega on 28 September. The president also warned that organizers of unauthorized protests would face charges. And that's it on the international scene.
And finally, it's now time for entertainment news.
Burna Boy receives AMG Award for Sold Out London concert. Nigerian artist Burna Boy has been awarded by the Academy Music Group, AMG, the leading owner-operator of music venues in the United Kingdom, for a sold-out concert at the O2 Arena in the UK last week. The Afropop artist received a plaque from AMG in recognition of his sold-out show on Sunday, 7th October. AMG congratulated the artist on not just selling out the entire O2, which holds 4,921 people at maximum capacity, but also putting on a brilliant and safe performance. The sold-out numbers were confirmed by Nielsen, a global measurement and data analytics company that provides the most complete and trusted statistics available for consumers and markets worldwide. The concert at the O2 Academy was the 4th stop on Burna Boy's Live on the Outside UK tour, with a train set to move to Southampton, where he will be performing this weekend. Well, congratulations, Burna Boy. Kanayo O. Kanayo rounds off law degree from the University of Abuja.
What manner of unfathomable prestidigitation is that?
Popular Nollywood veteran Kanayo O. Kanayo, who went back to the University of Abuja to study law some years ago, has now graduated from the university. The multi-award-winning actor, who once shared pictures of himself attending lectures, recently took to his Instagram page to share videos of himself with colleagues signing out.
This is the 2018 graduating law students of the University of Abuja. We're so happy and we thank the Almighty God for the past 5 years we've been together. Yes, gentlemen, I think it's all thanks to God, right? Yes! Hooray!
He wrote the caption, "Another milestone, another prominence. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Almighty God." Congratulations to Kanayo O. Kanayo, barrister to be.
I'm a professor. Oh, yes.
Retired.
Retired of my own free will.
Actress Lady Bakari bags double awards in Manchester. Popular US-based Hollywood actress Laide Bakare has bagged double awards in Manchester. She made the announcement recently on her IG handle, appreciating God, her family, and friends worldwide.
Are you sick upstairs?
Laide Bakare made her acting debut in 1999 and has also starred in over 15 Hollywood movies. The actress won Wazobia 2018 Hollywood Recognition Award alongside another award at the event in Manchester. She said, "All thanks to Almighty God, my wonderful family and fans worldwide." Well, congratulations to Laide Bakare.
I've been moving calm, don't start no trouble with me. Trying to keep it peaceful is a struggle for me.
Drake opens up on Kanye West's betrayal and Pusha T beef. American rapper Drake has opened up about a feeling of betrayal in his relationship with Kanye West and Pusha T. He aired out his dealing with rappers in a chat with LeBron James on the second episode of HBO series The Shop.
I feel good, sometimes I don't.
Drake mentioned in the interview that the information about him having a son came out after he told West in confidence. His experiences with Ye seemed to echo betrayal.
Now, I'm just really excited to be a great father. I have a son. He's a beautiful boy. I gotta show you guys.
You haven't shown us yet, brother.
He also added that some of the sub Pusha T threw at him on his Daytona album are reportedly private thoughts he shared with Kanye West.
But thank God. I do. You say Shy City. Shy City.
Kanye West sets up studio in Uganda to prepare for Dope Night album.
Do you think about me now and then?
Kanye West is finally connecting with his roots on a trip to Uganda, where he is planning for an exciting ninth studio album to be released on November 23rd. The rapper reportedly set up a makeshift studio, which is inside a white dome offering a view of beautiful plantation. Surprisingly, Kanye was caught up in the chemistry grooving to Maestro and Wizkid's vibe. Out a car.
And that's our package at this time. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.